Okay, so happy Thursday. Welcome everybody, and happy almost got Hanuman, wrong person. Happy Ganesha's birthday tomorrow. Tomorrow is actually considered Ganesha's birthday. And interesting, the way we usually talk about birthdays is we say, well, on this date is the day that you were born. And so every year on that date, that is your birthday. Ganesha is a little bit odd in that there's almost like a monthly moment where they say this is Ganesh being born. So it's not a specific day so much as it is I'm going to forget the numbers, but it's like the fourth day of the waning moon and whatever it is that works on the calendar. But that Ganesha's birth in this context is not that there's one day when Ganesh comes into existence, and that's what we celebrate, but it's sort of this idea that there are many opportunities where that energy of Ganesh arises, right? And this is one of his stories, is that it says in some of the interpretations that when you had this moment where before anything was created, you have this void, that is full of everything, but yet empty. And that what comes spinning out of that void as the very first kind of vibration of creation is the sound of Om and Ganesh dancing, right? So Ganesh dancing on the sound of Om is this image that we have of things coming into being or things coming into creation. And so my thought is the pose that we are doing tonight is dancer pose, Natarajasana, which is really named for Shiva. Shiva is usually the one who is the representation of that cosmic dancer, but he's that same representation of that energy in motion that is the dancer. And that's what we're talking about. It's that cosmic energy that is always in that state of beginning, middle, and end all at once. And that you can't distinguish them. So you can't say on this day in this moment is when something started, and on this day in this moment is when something ended. Is you're always in this flow or this state of things evolving and moving and becoming, right? And that's our practice, is that we get comfortable with that state of becoming instead of I was there and now I'm here, or I was there and now I'm trying to get there. So I think it's just a lovely place to merge these ideas, that as it being Ganesh's birthday, right, the day of his arising again, is that we have that sense that it's not one time and place, it's a constant becoming that we're starting to get in touch with. That's what we practice for. And it still works because, Shiva is considered to be Ganesh's father. So not in the traditional way, but Parvati is his mother and Parvati is married to Shiva. So there you go. He is the devotee, the greatest devotee of Shiva is Ganesha. So we do have this sense that out of the god of dissolving and destruction, you have this birth of new beginnings, and that is Ganesha. That's what one of the things that he represents. So we're doing dancer pose tonight and focusing on that concept of not feeling so much that there's a moment when you're in the pose that you have to hang on to, but that you're in that constant state of becoming. And if you're comfortable with that, then you'll flow in and out of the pose in any number of ways, and will feel that to be just as meaningful as that one moment when you could say, oh, there's dancer pose, right? You'll feel yourself moving in and out of your body, moving through your body in a way that any instant that you can catch is just as important, right? So comfortable seat if you're not there already. And I love, and again, I don't know who coined the phrase originally, or if there is anyone who can be credited for it, but the thought that we are not human doings, we are human beings. That beingness is what we are. All the actions and thoughts and external stuff is stuff we do. You are not a human doing, you are a human being. So what is becoming through you? Eyes closed if they're not there already, and just that idea of going back to where there's such a big spaciousness that anything and everything that you could be, could hold, could do, could have is there. And that if there's space for it, then it can rise through us, rise into us, out of that void. A dancing elephant. A couple more deep breaths. Feel your belly get softer with each breath. Remember that in this moment and all moments, you are becoming. You may never arrive because you are always becoming. And bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. And we'll open sound of Om. Again, the beginning, the middle, and the end of all things is the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Om. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, come forward onto hands and knees. And we'll start to move towards dancer pose. So you're in for a lot of quad stretching. Hooray. Good. So start on hands and knees, do a little bit of cat and cow just to start to move through your spine. So as you press down into your hands and down into your shins, you're lengthening again, shaking the chest forward between the arms, tail up and back between the thighs. Good. So just noticing as you're moving that there is a tendency in many of us that we actually rock our weight back and forth in cat-cow. So when we're inhaling, we tend to rock our weight forward towards the hands. And as we're exhaling, we tend to rock our weight backwards towards the knees or towards the feet. So I want you to come back to what feels like your neutral spine. So you're in between those two movements. Really root down into your hands. Feel like you are both hugging them towards each other and also drawing them back towards your knees. And then same thing, keep your shins really steady on the floor, almost as though you're like trying to squeeze a block between your shins or between the thighs. Good. And you're trying to keep that neutrality of your hip bones right in line with your knees, your arm bones right in line with your wrists. Good. Don't move any of that. And now start to cat and cow again. So as you inhale, you're dragging back on your arms to take your chest forward, but you're not letting your weight fall forward onto your hands. And as you curl and round, as you're lifting up through that low part of your belly, you're rounding through your back, but you're not shifting your weight backwards. Good. So you want to keep that feeling of the armpits moving forward and the thigh creases moving back, regardless of whether you're in the arch or the curl. So keep going with your breath, inhaling, lengthening forward, exhaling, curling and rounding, but really focus on keeping your arm bones in line with your wrists and your hips in line with your knees. Good. And this is important because dancer pose, what really allows it to be easeful is that we can't just stretch the quad, is we have to have the quad be an extension of the front of the hips, the front of the waist. And we can't just go into a back bend thinking that we can just crunch into our spine. There has to be a feeling of an elongation of the spine where the arms stay really integrated into the shoulders. Good. So this is where you start to feel your back. Good. In relation to those steady places, because the pelvis has to tilt in dancer pose and your shoulders have to rotate. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Neutral spine. Good. Tuck your toes, please. And then keep your armpits forward over your wrists. Tuck your toes. And you're going to lift your knees up off the floor. Just let them hover above the floor. So you got to really push down into your hands. Feel that low rib cage draw in and up, navel in and up. Good. And now try to, again, just subtly draw your knees slightly forward as it feels like you're pushing your hips back towards your heels. So it's going to seem like you're trying to fold in at the waist. So pull forward, hug those inner shins. Good. One more breath. Don't drop your head. That's it. And then drop the knees back down to the floor. Nice job. Stretch your right leg back behind you. Lift it up in line with your hip. So the right leg comes up in line with the hip. Good. And then walk your left fingertips forward and just keep that arm extended, fingertips on the floor. So up on fingertips, but fingertips touching the floor. Good. So already here, you start to feel this is like the extension that you would come into in dancer pose, right? So press out through that right thigh, right heel, keep that left hip stacked in line with your left knee. Good. Press into those left fingertips. Start to lift your heart forward and up like you're coming into that back bend, but keep the hand on the floor. Good. So you get into the sensation that the arm doesn't have to lift higher for your chest to lift higher. And then bend your right knee, kick your heel in. You're not reaching for the ankle, but start to lift that thigh higher, pressing your heel up towards the ceiling. Good. Keeping your chest lifted as high as you can. Knee is still pointing down towards the floor. Good. So Joanne, just watch that heel presses slightly wide. Good. One more breath, really kicking up through that thigh. and pressing into your fingertips and lifting your chest. This is the same sort of feeling you should want to feel in dancer pose. Good. Extend that right leg all the way back out to straight. Release back to hands and knees. Good. Do a little circling of your hips just so you come out of whatever tension you created holding that. Nice. Move your hips the other way, please. So circling the other direction. Good. I honestly think that a lot of quad work or things that we can do standing up or in different variations is that I think it's actually harder a lot of the times when we get closer to the floor. So if you find this hands and knees stuff difficult, it is, because it really forces you to work with a lot of your stabilizing muscles that you don't ever use, right? So you can work with it here close to the floor instead of trying to doing it standing up and not being able to do it and either falling over or compensating by using something else. So come back to neutral spine again. Hands and knees. Good. This time you're taking the left leg back and up behind you. So take that leg up in line with your hip. Walk the right arm forward towards straight. And again, come up on those fingertips. So you're not resting on that hand, but you do have pressure into those fingertips. Good. So again, that's keeping the chest and the shoulder engaged. Nice. So you feel that full reach where your right hip, your supporting hip, is moving slightly back to stay in line with your left knee. Good. And you still feel that there's that lift through the low part of your belly that's trying to lift your pelvis up. Nice. Press into those right fingertips, chest up. Start to take the upper back into that back bend. So again, you drag back on your left hand, feel your collarbones go up and wide. Nice. And then bend the left knee, take your heel in towards your butt. And without changing that back bend, start to lift the thigh a little bit higher. Again, you're going to feel at some point like the two parts of the body are fighting with each other. That's okay. Keep pressing into your right fingertips. Keep lengthening. So you take your collarbones even further forward. Good. And feel yourself drawing back through that left inner thigh and press up through that heel. Nice. Yeah. And hold it, because again, dancer pose, if you only can hold it by reaching back for the foot and getting completely stuck there, then you're never going to get any further, right? You have to be able to hold it from your back. Beautiful. Nice. Extend that left leg all the way back to straight. Release back to hands and knees. Nice job. Again, do a little wiggle of your hips or a circling of your hips. Good. Maybe move the other direction just for a moment and then find your way back when you feel ready to a child's pose. Knees nice and wide, big toes together to touch. Good. Nice, you guys. Take one more breath, again, softening, getting wider through the upper chest, through the upper back. And then walk yourself back up onto your hands. Take your knees a little closer together and separate your feet so you can sit either on a block between your feet or with your hips to the floor in Virasana, hero's pose. We're going to block underneath the seat if you need, or sitting between the heels, knees pointing straight ahead. Good. So your tops of your feet should be rotated down towards the floor. Good. And again, this is important because we want to really be teaching the quad stretching or teaching our body that this orientation of the knee facing straight ahead is where you want it to go. You don't want it to get into the habit of going outward, because then it's not a full stretch on the quad, right? So do what you have to. If it means you have to sit up a little higher, make sure the tops of your feet are flat towards the floor. Good. And then start to walk your hands backwards, please, behind you, any amount. Keep your seat rooted to the floor. So as you walk backwards, natural tendencies, we start to slide back behind our sit bones. So I want you to actually work against that, which means that as you start to walk your hands back, I want you to actually press your seat down into the block. So your groins are actually drawing down. You're trying to keep that feeling of pressing into the front edge of your sit bones, so that as you walk backwards, you're not just curling your tail under, if that makes sense. So keep that feeling of pressing down into your seat. And then if you can come all the way down onto your forearms at this point, you're certainly welcome to, but continue to press down through your shins. So you're not taking the connection away from the legs by walking the hands back, as you're actually keeping that really rooted. Good. So you can imagine this again as that full stretch all the way through the leg, not just the quad. But by pressing into the shins, you get the whole leg and lower back involved. Nice. Nice, Lori. Good, Harriet. Nice, Joanne. Good, Lorraine. You got it. Nice, Kristen. Good, 1 or 2 or 6 more breaths, we'll see. At least 2. Good, and then slowly start to walk yourself all the way back up, please. Awesome. Walk your hands forward in front of you. If you were sitting on a block, you can move it to the side, and then come onto hands and knees and find your way into downward facing dog. Downward dog. Good. Again, bend your knees very deeply. As you bend your knees, try and pull your butt back like you're going to sit on your heels. So knees bend a lot, hovering just above the floor, as close to the floor as you can go. And then really push your seat back and try and get into that fold of your thigh creases where you are dropping your hips towards your heels any amount. So your heels can come up high off of the floor, but you're pulling your knees forward as you press your butt back. So it's almost like you're doing that hovering hands and knees or a hovering child's pose. So get as low as you can. Yep. Good. And then take the legs all the way back to straight, taking the hips nice and high, softening the heels towards the floor. Awesome. Step your right foot forward between the hands. Yep. Both hands inside the front foot. Start to circle that hip. So make nice big circles or little circles, whatever works for you. Good. And then find where it feels like your knee is directly over top of the ankle. And then as you are bringing that knee over the ankle, lift and spread your toes. So the ball of your foot stays on the floor, but lift and spread your toes and start to drag backwards on your heel. So I want you to feel your hamstring wake up. And I want you to feel this feeling of having that knee stacked over the ankle without moving, right? So the foot is active, thigh is active, knee over the ankle. Awesome. Nice, you guys. Left hand plants to the floor. Keep that activity on the foot. Take your right arm to the sky. Twist. Nice. Good. And then release that hand back down to the floor. If you need blocks underneath the hands for this, you can use it. What I want you to try to do here is start to bend your left knee like you're going to drop it down to the floor to come into, Anjanayasana, but you're not going to let it touch the floor. So bring it down. And then start to straighten it back up again, back to that higher lunge. Good. And again, bend the knee like you're going to bring it down and forward. Keep that front knee right over the ankle and then start to stretch that leg back up to straight. Only one more time, I promise. Good. So don't let your pelvis move forward and back. Keep your pelvis where it is, but bend that left knee, drop it down like you're going to place it on the floor. Good. And then press it all the way back up. Beautiful. And then step yourself back downward facing dog. Good. Quad stretching goes a lot better when we actually really warm up the leg first. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Nice. Rise up cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then exhale, please. Downward facing dog, tuck the toes, lift the hips. Awesome. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Good. Both hands inside the front foot. Start to circle that hip. So again, just moving. Making a little bit of space of the thigh or where the thigh meets the pelvis. Because again, dancer pose is less about just the stretch capacity of your thigh. It's much more about the length that you're able to create in the front of the hip, the front of the pelvis, and the back side of the body. So it's a whole body extension. Good. Start to come back into stillness where that knee is right over top of the ankle. Good. And then again, press into your heel a little bit more, lift and spread the toes. So again, the ball of the foot is on the floor, but I want you to really feel that the pressure is ball of the foot and heel, and then drag slightly backwards so that you feel the back of your thigh engage a little more. Good. And then pelvis can move slightly forward so that that knee again is straight in line with the ankle. That's it. And then keep your right hand on the floor. Take your left arm to the sky, spinal twist. Again, just stretching into the spine. Keep your foot just as engaged. Don't let the knee fall open. That's it. And then release that hand back down to the floor. And again, if you need blocks here for a little more support, use them. Start to bend your right knee like you're going to bring it down to the floor for Anjanayasana, but don't let it touch. Keep that left knee over the ankle and then start to stretch the right leg back to straight. And again, you're not rocking your weight forward and back here. You're just working that back thigh. Drop the thigh down towards the floor. Again, don't let it touch. And then start to straighten it all the way back up again, feeling the pelvis go into that little rotation. And then one more time, drop the knee down towards the floor, feeling your hip points lift up, and then stretch it all the way back to straight. Awesome. And then go ahead and press yourself back all the way back to downward facing dog. Left foot steps back alongside right. Beautiful. Down dog. And then come forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. And rise up cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then exhale back to downward facing dog, please. Good. Nice. So slide yourself forward towards plank pose again. Yep. All the way towards plank. And again, like you're hugging your forearms towards each other and dragging back on the hands. Like you're squeezing your hands and your feet towards each other. Let your weight roll slightly forward towards the tips of your fingers, or your shoulders roll slightly forward, but you're still dragging back on the hands. Start to lift your collarbones forward and up like you're coming into cobra pose. This is like almost like a upward facing dog variation. So lift your collarbones up, 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 up. Let the space behind the heart soften, but keep that feeling of lifting your inner thighs. Nice. So I want you to feel that you get a little bit of a stretch through the tops of your thighs as they meet up into the pelvis. Good. One more breath, chest up, lift those inner thighs. Awesome. And then scooping into your belly, please. Press all the way back to downward facing dog, lifting the hips. Nicely done. Good. Step your right foot forward between the hands. Step the left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs as straight. Parsvottanasana. Good. Nice, you guys. Again, finding the feeling of the length of your spine, the length of your legs here. So if your knees are locking, right, then soften your knees just a little bit. So again, the weight moves slightly forward towards the balls of your feet, and then start to feel your heels pressing back as your shins actually move forward. Good. Nice, you guys. And then squeeze the feet towards each other, please. Stretch one arm straight forward alongside your ear. So lift your shoulders up. So it's like you're trying to bring your torso parallel to the floor. Good. And then take one arm up alongside your ear. Extend. Good. Keep your butt moving back. And then take the other arm up as well. So both arms reach. Nice. Keep extending. Press back through your hips. Extend out through your chest. Beautiful. And now come all the way up to stand, keeping the arms up alongside the ears. As you come up to stand, lift your hip points up, lift the tops of your thighs up, 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 and drop down through your tail. Good. And then reach back behind you, either hold opposite elbows or interlace the fingers. Good. And then start to bow forward again, taking the tops of the thighs up and back, get taller. So take your weight up out of your feet. As you start to bow forward, take your tops of your thighs back, extend forward through the chest, find that parallel position again. Good. And then continue past that parallel position, continuing to extend, letting yourself drop the belly, the chest, the head towards that front leg. If you have your fingers interlaced and you want to take your hands up overhead, you can. If you have holding opposite elbows, just let them continue to rest at the lower back. Nice. Nice, Lorraine. Good, Lori. Nice, Harriet. Good, Beth. And then release the hands down to the floor, please, wherever you are. Nice job. Step yourself back downward facing dog. Good. Slide yourself forward, plank pose, lower down all the way to your belly. Good. Come onto your forearms for a Sphinx pose. Instead of cobra, Sphinx pose. So as the forearms press down, again, drag backwards so that you feel the lift of the chest, the widening of the collarbones. And focus on, again, every breath that you are in this pose is you don't stop this feeling of trying to drag back on your hands and lengthen your spine forward. This is part of that concept of, as long as you're in a pose, your energy never stops moving in the pose. You don't find it and then stop, but there's a continuous reaching, right? And then tuck your toes, please. Good. And start to look back towards your belly button just a little bit so you feel your middle ribs start to lift up. So you're rounding into your middle back, and then lift your knees up off the floor, coming into more of the forearm plank. So your knees come up off the floor, your hips come up off the floor. Good. And as you're looking back towards your belly button, so you have that full engagement of the upper back, try and tilt your tilt the front of your hip bones forward towards the top of your mat. So you're trying to draw your tail towards your heels and tilt your hip bones forward. So it should feel almost like the direction of if you were trying to tuck your tail, but you're not completely tucking. You're lifting the hip bones up off of the tops of the thighs. Good. And then go ahead and lift the upper chest again as well, lifting the back of the throat. Good. But keep that feeling of I'm lifting my hip points up off of my thighs, and then I press back through my heels. Good. And then go ahead and lower the knees to the floor, please. Come back to Sphinx. So dropping the pelvis towards the floor. Rise up again through the upper chest. Good. And then release all the way down to your belly, please. Forehead to the floor. Nice. Stretch your arms reaching back towards your feet like you would for Locust Pose. You are coming into Locust Pose. So separate your hands a little bit wider away from your sides. Turn your palms to face down, and then come up onto your fingertips. So again, your arms are a little bit wider up on fingertips. Lift those inner armpits, lift those forearms off the floor. And then again, pressing into your hands, feel yourself trying to lift just the upper back, just the upper body. You're trying to pull your rib cage forward away from your hips and turn your collarbones up and forward. Good. So you find all of that. I'm just trying to lengthen the front of my body as much as I can. Good. And then start to lift that front edge of your hip bones again to the tops of your thighs. Good. Start to roll forward or lift forward. And now keeping all of that, float the inner thighs up off the floor. Find that full locust pose, but feel yourself being really pulled in both directions. Good. Nice, you guys. And then go ahead and lift the hands just a little bit higher. Yep. Bend the knees. Good. Lift the thighs a little bit higher, but don't reach for your ankles or your feet. Yeah. Just keep the sensation in your back. Nice. And then extend all the way back out again and release back to your belly. Nice job. Good. Beautiful, you guys. Separate your feet as wide as your mat. Good. And then take the arms out in front of you. And cross the right arm over top of the left. Most of you have done this twist before. So you're rolling onto your right shoulder, onto your right side. And as you roll to your right, you're taking your left arm up and back. Am I saying that right? No, if the right arm is over top of you, sorry, you're leaning onto your left hip. And then you're taking the right arm back behind you. That's like something's wrong there. Good. Keep the feet separated, reaching long through that right arm. And the arm does not have to come straight back wide from your shoulder. It can be in line with the rest of your side body. So you can keep the arm up alongside your ear. The idea is you just want to get that long stretch across the back and across the hip. Good. The dancer is often given to us as this image of equanimity. And I think we think that we arrive at that point of equanimity and that we fall into it, and we fall out of it, and we fall into it, and we fall out of it, but we don't think about how eternal that has to be in order for us to fall into it and be able to fall out of it. Right? So there's this sense of you can always become, there's always a sense that there is something that can rise in you if there's nothing in its way. Right? And that's sort of that Ganesh energy that, as well as new beginnings, is he's the one who removes obstacles, whatever's in the way of you being able to connect with that sensation of equanimity, that sensation of liberation, the sensation of ease or peace or healing, whatever you want. Right? It's not that he takes away the things that bother you, but he helps move aside whatever in us is in the way of us feeling what's already there. We become that when there's nothing in the way. Unwind yourself, come all the way back to center, please, rolling back towards the belly. Good. Then we're just going to come to the other side. So with the arms out in front of you, take the left arm on top of the right. And then this time you're rolling onto the right side and bringing the left arm back behind you. Or again, keeping it in line with the shoulder. Good, but letting the rib cage open as the pelvis moves open in the other direction. Good. What I think I love about this concept that Ganesh has a birthday every month or a rising every month is that even if you think that you got yourself caught in something again, he says, I'll come dissolve it again. Right? There's no sense of you got one chance at this. And if you don't get it, then you got to wait a whole nother year, a whole nother lifetime. There's no, this happens over and over and over and over again. And that's the dancer, is that constant flow of energy where we're always beginning, we're always sustaining, we're always dissolving. And there's something that's behind all of that. So we let ourselves become whatever energy flow or whatever energy expression needs to be there in the moment. Without the feeling of I have to hang on to what's beginning or what's in the middle or what's ending. It will just rise again. Ganesh will come out of that darkness again to say, what do you need to move? Let's remove it. He is considered as the son of Shiva, is that he is the keeper of many of the same teachings, the same wisdom as you would find in Shiva. He's just a happier guy. Where Shiva is very grumpy, Ganesh is very happy. Finds comfort in living in the world, finds joy in it. And Shiva does too, but Shiva is much more spiritual joy. Ganesh is enjoy your sweets, enjoy your life. Good, start to walk yourself or bring yourself back towards your belly, please, releasing that twist. Nicely done. Plant the hands underneath you. Find your way back up onto hands and knees. Again, do a little bit of cat-cow or circling of the hips. Good. And then come back to what feels like that neutral spine again, where you have your armpits centered over top of your wrists or your arm bones in line with your wrist and your hips in line with your knees. Take your right leg up and back behind you. Again, lifting it in line with your hip. Good. Walking the left arm forward. Good. Pause for a moment just with the arm extended, fingertips on the floor. Reset that feeling of your spines. You're lifting already from the back. And then float the left arm up alongside your ear. Good. So now you continue to lift your chest forward and up as you extend back through that right leg. Good. Bend the right knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Good. Reach the left armpit higher. Reach your right thigh higher. Good. See if you can reach up and back to find your ankle instead of reaching down and back. Oh, there you go. Nice. And if you're not finding your ankle, you can take that hand behind your head if you'd like. So you have something to push into, keep your throat lifted. Good. So yeah, Beth, you lift your gaze slightly forward. Yeah, as soon as you lift your head, then the weight of your head is no longer pulling on your shoulders. Awesome, you guys. Slowly release, extend all the way back out. Good. Come back to hands and knees. Nice. Do a little shimmy side to side if you need. I know you're wondering, are we ever going to get to stand up? Maybe. We'll see. Again, as soon as you get into the balancing aspect of dancer poses, you're going to forget all of this other stuff. That's what always happens is you say, oh, I just have to stay up on one foot. So you're no longer thinking about how you're reaching for that lifted foot or what you're doing with your thigh or what you're doing with your back. You're just concentrating on not falling. So I want you to work the dynamics here where you're not worried about falling. Good. Come back to neutral spine again. Take your left leg back and up behind you. Yep. Walk your right arm forward, again, pausing for a moment, just making sure that you have your shoulders settled over your wrist and your hips settled over your knee, and then lift that left arm up as well. Good. So again, I want you to have the feeling that you are lifting equally through that right armpit and your left hip, so that there's no sense of one part of me is lifting and the other part is collapsing, but you're lifting both equally. Good. Nice. And then bend your left knee, kick your heel in. Reach that right arm higher. Don't reach for the foot yet. Just reach up and keep your chest lifting up. Feel the collarbones go wide. Good. And the stretch on that thigh. And then see if you can reach your right hand up and back to find your ankle instead of reaching it down and back. Good. So it's a different thing, right? Just keep your spine in the back bend in order to reach the foot instead of having to come out of it and then find your way back in. Nice. Keep pushing into the floor. You got it, Lorraine. That's it. You don't have to touch the foot. Just keep your chest up. Yeah. And then slowly release, extend all the way back out. Nice job. Come back to hands and knees. Nice. Wiggle a little bit if you need, and then find your way back into downward facing dog. Down dog. Good. Step your right foot forward between the hands, lunge. Drop the back knee, use a blanket if you need, Anjanayasana. Good, so taking the arms up alongside your ears. Good, so you find that full lift of your spine first, and then bring your hands to your front thigh, please, and press down and forward. So you let yourself go a little deeper into that forward action of the lunge. So Beth, move your hands back a tiny bit. There you go. Really move the thigh forward. Good, and let your pelvis move forward. So you really feel, okay, there's the stretch on my back leg. Good, back toes tucked under, please. So if you let yourself go as far forward as you can, back toes are tucked under. Now keep yourself just as far forward as you think that you are and start to lift your butt backwards like it's going to find your left heel. Yep. So you soften that hardness at the front of your left thigh. That's it. So you're letting your pelvis go deeply forward, but then I want you to lift your butt up and back and feel the space at the front of your left thigh crease. Nice. Awesome, you guys. And then slowly release, please. Good. Take a block if you have a block and place it to the inside of that left foot. Good. Place it flat. So you're coming back to sit in a Ardha Virasana, so a half Virasana. So you want that block flat on the inside of your foot so that you can walk your hips back so that you're sitting on the inside of that left heel. So your left leg is in Virasana, your right leg is stretched straight out in front of you. And if you don't need a block for that, you're welcome to do the pose without the block. Good. Nice. Just make sure if you're not using the block that your left foot is still rotated so the top of the foot is flat to the floor. It's not rotated to the side. Nice. And your block can be as high as it needs to be for you to sit in this position. You might need a couple of blocks. There's all sorts of possibilities here. Good. You got it. Looks like you're right, Lori. Just right leg is extended, left leg is folded under. You got it. Good. Take your arms to the sky, please. Twist just a little bit towards your right, and then start to walk forward over that right thigh. Good. Keep your left shin gently pressing into the floor. Nice. So that little extra attention, that little extra energy into that leg helps keep the knee feel very supported, even though you're coming into what's a fairly deep thigh stretch. And again, this version of a thigh stretch might not feel so bad to you because you're not also working the hip flexor in this position. But it's a nice place to start getting that feeling of the attachment from the top of the thigh down to the knee. Gets a little release. Good. And then walk yourself back up, please. Nice. So you're going to bend that right knee and plant that right foot flat to the floor, keeping the left leg where it is. And then either bring your left elbow to the outside of your right knee, hooking, or use the arm to squeeze the knee in, twist to your right, take your right hand to your lower back. Good. Consider the other variation of Virasana, hero's pose. Not tonight's focus, but there you go. Good. Bring yourself back to center, please. Nice. So you're going to scoot that right foot forward. So lift up out of the pose, step your right foot forward a little bit further. Come back to Anjanayasana with your right foot forward. So lift your hips up off of the block or off of your heel. Take your right foot forward enough that you can come back to that low lunge. That's it. And then walk your hands inside the front foot. Again, you can use blocks there if you'd like, but walk your hands inside the foot. And then with your torso leaning forward, make sure that your weight is in front of your left kneecap. So if you need to extend the leg back a little further, do that. Bend your left knee, take your heel in towards your butt. So take the quad stretch in the other direction. So left heel comes in towards your butt. Good. And you're leaning forward. So stay leaning forward. Again, you can have blocks underneath the hands. Reach with the left hand for the foot or the ankle. So same side hand as the foot. So you're not crossing. There you go. Good. And then again, as you have that, I want you to practice this feeling of you can let your pelvis fall forward, like you're coming deeper into the Anjanayasana. And then I want you to lift your butt up and back like you're trying to take your butt to meet your heel. And then see if you can take your butt to meet your heel. And now let your pelvis start to move forward again towards that deeper Anjanayasana, keeping your heel at your butt. So again, you're just working variations of how to stretch your quad. Good. And again, a little bit of pressure of the foot against the hand is great. Move yourself forward and back. Don't stay in one place. So rocking forward and back, letting the heel come away from the butt and then bringing it back in. Because you want to give yourself the sensation of not just the length of the thigh, but how the thigh meets the pelvis. So moving back and forth, holding the foot if you can. Good. Nice. Awesome, you guys. And then come back to what feels like stillness. Release the foot to the floor. Nice job. Lift your back knee. Pause there for a moment. Just feel the actual lunge as a stretch. So as that back knee lifts up, feels good on your pelvis. There you go. And then step back to downward facing dog. Good. Deep breath in, deeper breath out. And then step the left foot forward between the hands, lunge. Yep. Dropping the back knee, use a blanket there if you need. Anjanayasana, take the arms all the way up first. So you find that full reach through your spine. Nice, Lorraine, you got it. And here you can already feel, if you are one of those people that tends to just push forward through your pelvis in Anjanayasana, is you're going to feel that the top of that right thigh gets really hard. All right, so notice that. Press into your left heel. So that's really centering your weight over that left foot. Good. Take your hands to the front of that left thigh or the top of that left thigh. Push forward. So you're actually anchoring the thigh, moving forward, and then press down into your heel even more and feel that subtle dragging backwards. Good. And now try to feel that the top of your right thigh, that's your back thigh, lifts up just a little bit as though you were going to bring your butt up and back to meet your heel again. Nice. So you want to notice this kind of feeling of tension, right? Because tension isn't always a bad thing, but the tension that's right here in this experience, that's how deep you want the thigh to go, the back thigh in dancer pose. You don't want to go so far that you're just yanking at the front of the hip. Good. Nice, you guys. One more breath there. Good. And then slowly release again, bringing the hands to the floor or blocks. Start to move yourself backwards. Place a block inside your right foot so that you can come back into the half Virasana, Ardha Virasana. So again, you're coming back so that your sit bones are inside your right foot. Your knee is folded under. Left leg extends out. Good. And again, if you don't need blocks, don't use them. If you need multiple blocks, use multiple blocks. Good. Ideally, you have your butt inside your heel, not on your heel. But again, do the best that you can with what you have. Good. And then once you found yourself there, take your arms up alongside your ears, do a little twist to your left. Bow forward. Nice, Lorraine. Good, Joanne. Nice, Kristen. Good, Lori. Nice, Harriet. Good, Beth. Good. And again, a little bit of consistent pressure of the right shin into the floor, just so that you have energy moving through the knee joint. All right, so when we come into dancer and we think, if I could just get my foot back and reach my hand to grab it, and then what's keeping me in the pose is that sort of unanchored energy of just the hand and the foot gripping each other, is we're not going to feel like it's a pose that we have any control over, that it's not anything that we have any sense of equanimity in, because we're just wondering, when is it going to all collapse? So you're holding the pose with your back, the reaching the foot to the hand is just convenience, right? It's more comfortable. But that back bend is really coming from the extension through your spine. So we want to practice this concept of what it feels like to feel the length of the actual muscles but to also know that it's not enough to just try and yank on our thighs or yank on our shoulders. There has to be this connection of the limbs into the torso, and that you're really holding yourself from the back, holding yourself from within. Good. Walk yourself slowly all the way back up. Bend your left knee so that you can plant that left foot flat to the floor. Right leg is still folded under. Yep. And then you're taking either your right elbow, hooking it outside your left knee, or you're using the right arm to hug that knee in. Keep not letting it go beyond the center line though. And then left hand can come back behind you or to your lower back, whatever position feels more useful to you. Yeah, make sure you are still drawing your groins down towards the floor, so there's a feeling of almost leaning slightly forward. Good. And then slowly release, come out of that. Nice. So as you come up out of the pose, pressing into your left foot, scoot it forward a little bit. So you lift your butt up off of the block, step your left foot forward even more, come back to Anjanayasana, the low lunge with the left foot forward. Take both hands inside your front foot. And again, you can have blocks underneath the hands if that feels like a better proportional place, better arrangement. Good. Make sure that your weight is able to be in front of your right kneecap. So you might have to extend that right leg backwards just a little bit more. And again, if you need a blanket under there, make sure you have it. Good. And then start to bend your right knee, take your heel in towards your butt and reach back with the right hand for the foot or the ankle. So again, you're reaching for the quad stretch, but you're keeping your torso low, reaching it forward. Good. Because I want you to really just work with the thigh into the pelvis. Leave the back out for now. Good. So let yourself go ahead and rock a little bit forward and back, letting your pelvis start to move forward, deeper into the lunge. And then feeling yourself moving your butt backwards to find your heel. And then maybe you keep your heel anchored to your butt and again, start to let your pelvis move forward so that you start to feel that top stretch of the quad or the stretch at the top of the quad muscle up into your hip flexors. Good. And I'm not even going to pretend that this is a comfortable stretch. This is the type of thing that I really dislike myself. But if we want dancer pose to feel like something that we can really get into, is that this is the tight place in us that has to start to let go. So move yourself. Don't stay in one place and suffer. Yeah. Good. And just find yourself in a place that feels like stillness, like you're lifting your chest as much as you can, keeping your hands still on the floor or a block. And just feel that pressure of the foot back into your hand. Maybe that's a subtle amount of relief to press the foot into the hand. Good. And then slowly release the foot to the floor. Please take the hands to the floor. Nice. Lift that back knee. And again, feel that lunge now as a release of your thigh. Good. Extending back out through the heel. And then step yourself back downward facing dog. There you go. You got it. Good, you guys. Take one more breath and then slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Lower down to the floor slow. Good. Rise up cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then press back downward facing dog. I realized I totally forgot a whole pose on the second side. So take your left foot forward, top of your mat. Or left foot comes forward, right foot steps in just a little bit, Parsvottanasana, second side. We never did it. If I'm doing it twice, let me know, but I don't think so. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then again, finding where you can soften the backs of your knees so the shins move slightly forward and you can find yourself pressing into your heels. I keep saying that because again, we tend to not have our weight very well centered over our standing leg in dancer pose. And we just don't have a sense of where that correct alignment is. So you have to start to become aware of where your weight is centered without having to look, right? That's my point. So that when you're standing, you're able to feel, is my hip stacked over my heel? Or am I doing a lot of work just to try and keep myself upright? Good. Lifting up a little higher onto your blocks, try and find where your shoulders are in line with your hips. So you have your torso parallel to the floor. Stretch one arm up alongside your ears, and then take the other arm up as well. Again, feeling that lower rib cage draw in, back muscles hug together. Good. Press the hips back, but don't lock the knees. That's it. And then come all the way up to stand, strength of your back. And as you come all the way upright, keep lifting your hip points up off the tops of your thighs. So you keep lifting up vertical, more vertical, lift up. That's it. And then reach behind you again to either hold opposite elbows, maybe taking the opposite arm on top, whatever one is not your instinct, or interlacing your fingers at the low spine. Start to keep this feeling of elongation. You're nice and light on your feet. Take your tops of your thighs back, pelvis back, bow forward again. If you're holding opposite elbows, keeping the arms at the lower back. If you have your hands clasped, you can take your hands up and overhead any amount. Good, but focus on, again, you're tilting the pelvis, keeping the spine nice and engaged. Don't lock your knees. That's it. Draw the pelvis up and back. Stretch the legs straighter by lifting through your seat and pressing into your heels. Nice. Good, Joanne. Nice, Beth. Nice, Harriet. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Excellent. And then go ahead and step back, downward facing dog. Good. Slide forward to plank pose. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Good. Pointing the toes back behind you. Stretch your arms reaching back. Locust pose again. Same sensation, right? So press into your fingertips, lift just the upper body first. So as you push down, you feel that lift of your collarbones, again, like you're trying to pull the front of your body as long as you possibly can. And then feel that stretching all the way from the front of your thighs, like your thighs are pulling forward and up. Good. And now just float your inner thighs up off the floor to take the legs up. Nice. And now float the arms up. And keep this feeling of elevation through the whole length of your spine, from the front of the body to the back. And then bend your knees, kick your heels in, reach your hands higher. And if you naturally can find your feet and your ankles without doing a lot of contortion, go ahead and find your feet. Good. And then bend your elbows a little bit so that you get this feeling that you still have to hug your arms in towards your chest. And then kick your thighs higher with your elbows bent. Good. And then lift your chest higher to try and meet the height of your thighs. Yeah, keep your elbows slightly bent. Nice. That's it. Pressure of the feet into the hands, but the strength is in your back. Good. Reach all the way back out into locust. So don't just drop everything. Extend the legs, extend the arms. Nice, Joanne. Get longer through your low back. Nice, Lori. Nice, Lorraine. And then slowly release. Come on back, take a moment, rest on your belly. And so the dancer is that moment or the experience where we can be in whatever time and space place, we're in beginnings or middles or endings, but we never lose context, or we never lose sight of that space that it all arises from. Which means that we can fall into a moment, but we can also fall out of it, back into that state of equanimity. It doesn't have to be separate. Good. Walk yourself back, hands alongside your ribs, press up to hands and knees. Do a little wiggle there if you need, and then find your way back to downward facing dog. Good. And then start to walk your feet forward towards your hands. So again, without having to use your eyes to notice, you can even close your eyes and try and notice when your feet are truly underneath your hips. Or when your feet are flat, how much you have to move your hips backwards to find your weight really centered over your heels. Good. And then bring your hands to your hips, please. Come all the way up to stand. Nice. So your left leg is your standing leg. Bend your right knee. Kick your heel up towards your butt. And just do that for a second. Yep, no reaching for the foot. Just bend the knee, kick your heel up towards your butt. That's it. And then place that right foot down to the floor. Do the other side. So find your right foot as your standing leg, bend your left knee, kick your heel up towards your butt. Good. Try and keep your knees in line with each other. So you got to slide that left knee back in space just a little bit. And already here, feel the lift of the tops of your thighs. So drop your tail, lift up through your hip points. Good. Release that foot. Do the first side again. Left leg, standing leg, bend your right knee, kick your heel back towards your butt. Notice if you are shifting all of your weight all the way over to the left, if you're pushing out through that left hip. Try and keep it equal in the center. So Lorraine, move your knee back a little bit more. There you go. Yep. And lift those hip points up, you guys. Good. Nice, Harriet. Release the foot. Try the second side again. Right foot steps to the floor. Left knee bends. Nice. Yep. Keep your hip points lifted up, dropping down through your tail. So you're getting as much of that neutral vertical angle on your pelvis as you can. Good. Release that foot. Okay. So left leg, standing leg, bend your right knee, same way you just did. Kick your heel in towards your butt. Good. Nice. And now start to lean forward like you're going to bring your torso parallel to the floor. As you lean your chest forward, kick your thigh back and up behind you. You can have hands at your hips, hands behind your head. You can extend arms out if you like that variation, but lean forward a lot and kick that thigh up back behind you. Kick your thigh up, thigh up, thigh up, thigh up. Good. Don't go any lower than parallel to the floor. Nice. And then bring it all the way back up. I know I'm forcing you to just fool around with your balance. Place that right foot down to the floor. Try the same thing on the other side. So right leg, standing leg, bend your left knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, standing upright. Knees in line with each other. Good. And then hands can again be at your hips, at heart center, behind your head, wherever you want them to be for stability. And then start to lean your chest forward as you kick your thigh up and back behind you. Try to find parallel to the floor. Good. So you get this sense of what it's like to tilt your pelvis around that standing leg. Nice. Don't go lower than parallel to the floor. Nice. You got it. And then pull yourself all the way back up. Come all the way back to upright. Good. All right. First side again. Left leg, standing leg. Bend your right knee. Good. This time as you kick your heel up and towards your butt, reach the right hand to find the foot or the ankle. Keep the left hand either at your heart or behind your head, wherever you want it to be. And you have a gentle pressure of that foot into your hand. Start to lean yourself forward. And again, reach for parallel to the floor. So as you come forward, you're kicking that thigh up higher. Your heel can stay close to your butt. Excellent. So come forward, come forward, come forward. Let the pelvis tilt. And then start to, from there, extend your collarbones forward and up. Find the back bend from there. Good. And then slowly bring it all the way back up. Nice. And then let it go. All right. Try the second side that way. Right foot, standing leg. Bend your left knee, kick your heel back towards your butt. It's a progression, right? Reach left hand for the foot or the ankle. Let the knee start pointing straight down. Again, that right hand, find somewhere for it to be, either behind your head or at your heart. It can be at your hip, wherever you want it to be. You can have it extended forward if you like. Start to bow forward, again, taking your chest forward, letting your torso come parallel to the floor or as close to it as you can, kicking that thigh up back behind you. Focus on is the weight of your hip or the length of your hip centered over your heel. Just find that. And then once you've come pretty low, your thigh is kicked up, start to lift your collarbones forward, feel the heart lift up, find the back bend in the upper spine. You could totally do this with a block underneath the right hand if you need it. Good. Beautiful, Kristen, really nice. And then slowly bring it all the way back up. Good, release the foot. Jump around a little bit. Do some jumping jacks or some running in place, whatever, move yourself, wiggle. Yeah, I know, you've been trying too hard. All right, here we go. This is the big finish, right? So find yourself back on both feet, left leg, standing leg, bend the right knee, kick your heel back, reach for the foot or the ankle, right hand, take the left arm up alongside your ear. So you get this full sensation of I'm lifting up through my hip points. I'm getting as tall as I can through the front of my body. I'm dropping through my tail. I'm dropping through that right thigh. And now kick your foot into your hand. Feel your thigh start to move back as you take your chest forward and bring your left armpit nice and high. and feel like you are again in that locust pose position where you are lengthening and lifting wide, wide, wide through your chest. So you're right back where you were in hands and knees, pulling long through the spine, chest up, thigh up. Really nice, Lori. Got it, Beth. Turn that knee to face down. Good. And then come all the way back up. Nice, Lorraine. Beautiful. And then release. Good. And then we'll try the second side. Right leg, standing leg. This is the last time you're doing it, right? It's your big finish. Bend the left knee. Good. Reach back for the foot or the ankle. Again, starting with the knee pointing down. Find the drop of your tail, the lift of the front of your thighs. Right arm up alongside your ears. Good. Full extension through your spine, even though you're standing up and not facing the floor anymore. Kick your foot into your hand as you start to move that thigh back in space. Let your chest come forward. And it can be really helpful to let yourself come forward first and then try and find greater back bend. If you start with trying to keep the back bend really big and then come forward, that can feel more disorienting. So let yourself come forward, kick that thigh up higher, and then start to find where is my back in that locust pose feeling, right? That I have that length through my leg as well as my torso. Yeah, nice. And the foot just rises up and the hand is just there to support it. Nice, really good. And then bring it all the way back up. Release the foot, take a breath because you stopped breathing during that, I know. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Nice. And then inhale the arms up to the sky. Exhale, bow forward. Good. Bend your knees. Good. Hang like a rag doll for a second. So just knees gently bent and hang. Maybe sway from side to side. Maybe let your lips go. Or whatever you like to do. Excellent. Nice. And then go ahead and let the hands come softly back down to the floor. Step yourself back to a down dog. Drop down to your knees. Child's pose. We never practice to eradicate anything, even when it's said that we are in the process of dissolving. When Shiva says he's destroying something, is he's not getting rid of it, is he's transforming it back to the energy from which it began. Right? That's the description, is that he leaves the truth of what is there behind, and whatever is untrue is what seems to disappear. In the same way, Ganesha comes and he doesn't remove the obstacles by just getting rid of them, but he brings you to a place where you no longer feel like it's in the way of your equanimity, of your liberation, of your peace, of your freedom, of your whatever you're seeking to feel. Walk yourself back up, please. Find your way onto your backs. Good. Drawing the knees in towards your chest, please. Come into happy baby. So reaching for the ankles or the feet. And feeling the lower back pressing down into the floor, knees just a little wider, heels drawing in. So Lorraine, knees just a tiny bit wider. And then angle your heels in. There you go. Yep. Nice, you guys. Awesome. And then bring the knees all the way back together, please. Hug them in. Good. Plant the feet in front of you as wide as your mat. Then let the knees rock from side to side, right and left. Good. And the next time the knees come to the right, let them pause there. If you'd like to bring your right ankle on top of your left knee for a little extra stretch through that left thigh, you can. So other way, Lorraine, is keep that left foot wide and then take the right ankle on top. Or that variation of a twist is great too. I think you're probably happier there. Don't worry about it. There you go. You're good where you are. Good. Come all the way back to center, please. Taking the feet flat, knees wide, and then drop the knees open to the left. And again, keeping the feet separated here, your left foot can come onto your right knee. So it's your bottom foot coming onto your top knee. Just adds a little extra stretch through that thigh and hip. And again, if that feels like it's not a good feeling on your joints, then you step the foot off of there and just let gravity do its thing. And then bring yourself all the way back to center, please. Awesome. Squeeze the knees in one more time. Hug your forehead up towards your knees. So curl into a little ball, squeeze into those thigh creases. Yeah. And then slowly release, either coming to stretch the legs out in front of you into Shavasana, or if you want a supine Baddha Konasana to end, you are welcome to do that as well. Bringing the bottoms of the feet together and dropping the knees wide. If you'd like, the inner practice of repeating the sound of Om. Feeling that as the sound dissolves, it dissolves back into the space that is already another Om is rising. It's never not rising. Pranava is the word, always renewing itself. You are always becoming. Very gently bring the awareness back to the breath. Letting the body stretch and move in all the ways that serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Taking a moment before you begin to push the floor away, come back to an upright seated position.
Hmm.
And bring the hands together in front of the heart center. So this day of Ganesha's birthday is not a day in the calendar that just comes the same time every year. Is that this concept of his rising or that his renewing is a changing date. It means that we don't just look for one opportunity or one moment where we say, oh, here's where I can renew, here's where I can reset, here's where I can start again, here's where it all happens. It rises when it rises, and it's always in that state of movement. So any moment can be your moment. Any moment is the one where you can allow that equanimity to appear or to be a part of what you're already feeling. Any moment is where you can dissolve what feels like it's in the way of those feelings. You don't have to wait. It's always happening. And that's what we're encouraged to remember, is that we are not in a process of doing, is that we are in an experience of being. Any moment, every moment, you can feel yourself as that, and maybe let go of the things that you did do or didn't do. You are just becoming. So we practice that anytime, any moment it can happen. And that's Ganesh. You don't have to wait. Om is always happening, always renewing. So we'll close that same sound, the beginning, the middle, the end of everything, and all the spaces in between. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. I will see you when I see you. If you haven't noticed, all of the midday classes that were off for the summer are back on the schedule. And coming up pretty soon, we're going to be adding a couple of new classes and stuff. So be aware.
Thanks.